Both sides of the story. Knowledge is power. Class is in session hour 106.
It is Wednesday, the 4th of September, 2024, and we greet you well, wherever in the world you are listening to us right now. We remain eternally grateful for the gift of life and the privilege to serve you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story. We don't ever take your listenership for granted because we know you have choices, and that's why we never ever forget to remember to say thanks for choosing to listen to Both Sides of the Story, Monday to Friday, 2 to 5, right here on Power 106 FM. The mission continues to educate, empower, enlighten, and encourage entrepreneurship. Welcome. Thank you so much. For those of you who got a bit wet because of the rain, we hope you are dry this afternoon. The National Hurricane Center continued today to track 3 tropical waves in the Caribbean and Atlantic, with a chance to develop into the season's next tropical depression or storm. As of the NHC's 8 a.m. tropical outlook, none had more than low chances, as conditions across the Atlantic basin remain unfavorable for the circulation needed to become cyclonic. None of the 3 is a threat to Florida. The tropical wave that continued to move across the Caribbean was plugging along at about 20 miles per hour, still producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms near Jamaica and southeastern Cuba, as well as the area to its south in the central Caribbean. Some development is possible late this week when the wave slows down over the northwestern Caribbean Sea, or early next week over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, the forecasters say. The National Hurricane Center gave it a 30% chance to develop in the next 7 days. In the central tropical Atlantic, about 800 miles east of the Lesser Antilles, is another tropical wave with limited showers and thunderstorms. So just thought we'd give you a bit of a heads up for the rest of this week. Development of the system, if any, is expected to be slow to occur over the next couple of days, while it moves west northwestward at 10 to 15 miles per hour, according to the forecasters. Environmental conditions are expected to become unfavorable for additional development by the end of the week. So that's how it's looking weather-wise. And if anything changes, we'll let you know. JM Master Songwriter Miss B says, Blessed Wednesday, Mr. Malcolm. To you too, Miss B. Audrey Smith says, Afternoon, Dervan and listeners everywhere, watching and listening from Southampton. Good to have you on board from Southampton in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much for tuning in. As usual, the lines are open and it's an opportunity for you to express yourselves with a little more than just a little time. So the numbers to call, 876-922-4112-5. 876-922-4112-5. And the text line is same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. Now let's see if you, our faithful listeners at home and abroad, are ready for us. Let's see what we have here. Some unread messages. And let's see those who have connected with us here on both sides of the story. This one coming in. Hello, good afternoon. Lost that one. And so let's move on. Public service announcement to JPS Manchester team. Is this, no, this is, no, we read that one already. So we'll move right along here on both sides of the story. Power 106 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. And taking your calls on 876-922-4112-5, 876-922-4112-5. The text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. Hello to Kevin Galloway, who is on board, checking in with us here on both sides of the story. Good afternoon to you, Kevin. And Theo Chambers, good afternoon to you as well. And who is this now? Let's see. Someone who goes by the moniker Claire. Let's go down the line here and see what we find. So keep going up. Calvin, North York, Ontario, Canada. Always good to see you popping up online. Franklin MacDonald has already gotten the process going as usual. Let's see what he's connecting us with right now when we come back from this first break on both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM.
listen to Power 106 FM. Time is now 2:15. The Auto World.
It's the only program on Jamaican radio dedicated to the world of automobile. It's the Auto World with Chevy and McLagan. Get news and reviews relating to vehicles and automotive technology. Learn the ins and outs of mechanical operation. Find out about the various stakeholders in the local and international automotive sectors. From auto finance to road safety to motorcycles, the Auto World is your one-stop shop for everything auto. That's the Auto World with Shelly and McLagan. Weekdays at 5:15 p.m. on Power 106 FM and the Power 106 FM app.
We have a few messages to clear. This one says, "Good afternoon, Sir Malcolm. What happened to the natural gas and oil found in Haiti?" Well, categorically, the minister has stated there is no oil. Jamaica hasn't found any oil. So they have knocked that ball out of the park a long time ago. And so no such thing. No such thing. Whether, yeah, let's just move right along. What's this now? And Americans and oil happened. Well, I don't know about Haiti and the Americans and the French, so can't speak on that. We're just speaking on Jamaica. Anyway, the next of your threads of messages, we heard all right, so we have another string of messages of people now turning their attention to Haiti as far as oil is concerned. I'm not sure how we got there. And this one says, Sir Malcolm, I'm denouncing the school, gun school violence in the great state of Georgia. Our children must be able to go to school to learn, not to face gunshots. Our children should not be traumatized by adults breaking the law in pursuit of their own satisfaction. And this person says, Sir Malcolm, I'm calling on the head of the Dade County Correctional Department and President Joe Biden before he leaves office to pardon someone here from a community in Jamaica. This one says, someone by the, well, good afternoon. No, we read that already. Secondly, what if the Ministry of Finance is found to be well, that's a rush to judgment. And a court of justice would be the appropriate place, we believe. All right, might be going ahead of yourself here, Bongo D. Far ahead of yourself on this one. Franklin MacDonald, as usual, sharing with us. He says, here is a question. Is today the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Ivan's impact on Jamaica's south coast? Well, we'll have to check up on that one. Looks like you have found something, Mr. MacDonald. Care to share then? Feel free. And let's see if today is the actual day when Hurricane Ivan hit Jamaica. It was not precisely, but almost up to that point. So in another 6 days, we would be, all things being well, we would be able to say 16 years ago today, Hurricane Ivan passed over Jamaica. So we're jumping a little ahead of ourselves, Mr. MacDonald. But for what it's worth, it's around the same general time. And so one can well imagine the memories that come rushing back. In fact, there are some pictures that have been posted as well. But thank you nonetheless for trying to keep a tab on some of these milestones and significant dates. We appreciate it. So if you have more, please share. Here are the numbers once again, 876-922-4112-5. The text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. So so that was 16 years ago. And, but not precisely, it's because it's about 5 days, 5 or 4 days before. Let's see who else is hitting us up online. Valerie Weller Peck, good afternoon to you. Welcome. Cynthia Jackson, good afternoon. Mike Montgomery, good afternoon to you too. Thank you for connecting with us here on both sides of the story, Poro 106 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world, and taking your calls on 876-922-4112-5, text line 876-365-3346. We look forward to your calls, your messages, your issues, your concerns, whatever is on your mind. Please feel free to share as we continue to take your calls on 922-411-225, 876-922-411-225. And the text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346, 876-365-3346. As we continue with more, and still maybe something with this connection here, because we're not seeing the light indicator for this live stream. So that means there's no sound going into the device. All right, the show goes on nonetheless. 876-922-411-225. Taking your calls as well, your messages as well, 876-365-3346, 876-365-3346. And the regular call-in lines, 876-922-411-225, 876-922-411-225. And the text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. Ralph is calling us. Good afternoon, Ralph.
Hello, Ralph is calling us.
Your radio is giving us a feedback, or some other device that you have there, Ralph. All right, Ralph has disappeared. Let's remind you of the numbers, 876-922-411-225. Text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346, 876-365-3346. And let's see. Good afternoon, Patricia. Thank you for your message. But feel free to keep them coming. 876-922-411-225. The text line, 876-365-3346. There's more after the break.
You're listening to Poro 106 FM, the Time is now
2:30. Shop in ease and comfort at Music Mart. Get everything music: pianos, keyboards, acoustic and electric guitars, drums, amplifiers, recording equipment, instruction texts, and reference books. Shop online at www.musicmart.biz or visit 8 South Avenue, Kingston 10, or call 876-960-7712. Music Mart, Jamaica's only complete music store. Tiles, and more tiles. It's the Totally Tiles sale event at Moment Things. Enjoy up to 70% off select mosaic tiles. Check out our new arrivals of elegant Spanish porcelain and stylish ceramic at unbelievably low prices. Save big on 8-foot floor and wall tiles. Trendy designs, colors, and sizes. We've got it all. Plus other discounts store-wide. Catch the Totally Tiles sale event now on at Moment Things, Old Road Road, and Pastor Road. Lots of tiles, lots of styles.
Here's another message on both sides of the story on Power 106 FM. And Cuban in Georgia is saying, we must ban children from carrying weapons to school. Safety checks must be mandatory before children enter the safe spaces of school property in the great state of Georgia. So this is not in Jamaica, it's in the state of Georgia. So like anywhere else in the world, we have these matters to contend with. And invariably we can learn from them and they can learn from us as well. Here's another message from Cuban in Georgia. Metal detectors must be installed at every entrance of the school in Georgia, and staff monitoring personnel on the school compound, along with campus police officers patrolling the school zones. So Cuban in Georgia is sharing his concern and also communicating with us on some of the possible solutions and steps that need to be taken. So thank you for sharing, Cuban in Georgia. In the meantime, keep those calls coming on 876-922-4112-5, 876-922-4112-5. And the text line is the same as the 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. As we continue, the show goes on, even without us, here on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. We have a duty to communicate, so we have to communicate. And that's exactly what we are happy to do on both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. So we're still taking your calls on 876-922-4112-5, 876-922-4112-5. And the text line, the same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. So we look forward to more of your messages and your calls here on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. On the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. And we stand ready to take your calls, to hear your stories, to help you to get a better understanding of your messages and other forms of information that is communicated on this program. So we'll keep it going. 876-922-4112 to 5. 876-922-4112 to 5. And the text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. And there's a bit of history here. This day in 2020 marked 179 days since the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in Jamaica, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness recorded 74 new cases at the time, bringing to 2,896 the number of confirmed cases. 21 people at the time recovered, and there were 1,873 active cases, and sadly, people up to this day in 2020 had died. The month of September is another of these months that we normally pay attention to in terms of the various observances. For example, it's Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, National Senior Citizens Month, Employers Month, Alopecia Awareness Month. Alopecia is, of course, partial or complete hair loss. September is also Travel Agents Month, and according to Tasty Cheese, Cheese Month. It's Civil Servants Day in Venezuela as well. So it's happening all around us. Let's go to the phone lines once again, 876-922-4225. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling. I am fine, thanks. How are you? Well, we're enjoying life. We're enjoying life, and we give thanks. Mhm. Nothing wrong with that. Better something than nothing.
When I was a boy, because I remember my father and I was coming from a bush someplace, some hill. I was about that church. I think it was an Elliston church where, man, I've never seen some rain. I've never heard what sunshine in my life. And there was another river near Royal Minnow in one of those big rain time, wash away from Billtown, right through the town, lick down a number of buildings, you know. But I've not heard about it at good time now. Why I call you though, I observed something 2 days ago. After what I was driving to the park. A little young man have a donkey laden with coconut. And it burned my heart to talk to you about it. Laden. Little donkey, little dark donkey. And a man came on and said to him, young man, how are you going to kill the donkey with short gun? And the man, and he won. So what I'm asking the authorities
You could bring it to the attention of.
I'm sorry about that. My fault, please.
Yes.
Please help me out.
I was just.
I'm asking the authorities, the police are right and short of these. A lot of these guys going around these donkeys with a lot of coconut. I mean, one chili of certain weight carries someone's weight. And if you are going to lay a donkey with about 20 to 40 dozen, 20 dozen, 10 dozen, 8 dozen coconut, and probably when he's going home, we might have to take a ride with him. I'm asking the authorities to look at that. I mean, we used to have those things. beat the donkey too much you could do. There was one over in Passage for the donkey who the man used to load him so much the loader was passing there one day and I asked and some big mechanic man, what happened to the donkey? The donkey did back over with. So it is a quite a serious thing. Would ask the authorities, I don't know whether the police or
Well, you could start with the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
I'm really glad that you
It's a JSPCA. I don't know if it's still at the corner of where's that road that runs across Trenchtown there?
but yes, we have a trying to do a gather with them tomorrow. I don't know if I can find it today. But if someone come and telling you, I could never believe what I mean I do. I mean I know the ways of one coconut cherry in your hand before it cut. And this poor dog is back up front over neck. But he was not moving really. He stopped at the place. I don't know if that's the place where he owns already the self coconut, but we're calling on the authorities to take a look at that. I mean, animals are, sir, I did something to a donkey when I was little. I was coming around my father's street and father loaded the donkey and it would rain and then the donkey was sliding back, wow, and I say, something. But I must have get the donkey. When I started to turn to stone, and threw underneath his seat bag. And I never forget that. I don't know if God Almighty has forgiven me for that. But every time I remember that, I have to ask God to forgive me. So animals are the same thing with the racehorse and the other people have their dogs and everything, So I said I was going to share that. One the guy for 1 hour drive there on a corner road there with a whole burden of coconut and this poor donkey. And the donkey that we had was the same color, the dark donkeys, the dark, the black, And the question of the donkey, my mother and I was coming from market one day. Mr. Malcolm, I don't want to go your program.
Not at all. I'm listening.
And I was about 10 years of age, coming from a place named Cave Valley. And when they tell my brother and sister these things, they don't believe you and they don't remember. And when we come around a corner, the donkey fell and it wouldn't get up. The mother was riding on the back coming home. The donkey would not get up. But God is God and God has always sent a man to save a man. In the war of David, the war with Goliath, whatever, God has always sent Moses with the children of Israel. And a man came out from nowhere. So little boy, what I must say, the donkey fall down, sir, and he won't get up. What the man said to me, I said, Dervan, Michael, man said, little boy, I said, yes, sir. I said, look down there, so you see that tree with that trumpet tree down there? Where I see that little house? Go down there and talk to a man down there, he will tell you what to do. Now, I can't understand how God works. So I went down to the man and I told him what happened. He said, little boy. I said, yes, sir. He said, go out in the bush there, pick up a trumpet leaf and get some pieces on the trumpet leaf and take it up to the donkey, get a stick and put a little in his mouth. And if he doesn't get up, trotting home or running home, he's going to get a donkey. And Malcolm, brother Malcolm, a life situation to you, that was what I did. And the donkey get up and blows him nose, And the mother jumped up on him, and the mother, well, he was about 10 up there, because I was about 10, And I never forget that thing. So, my dear son, sometimes we have to deal with another thing, not only trade union thing, but that was not the trade union in America. The campaign now is with the trade union workers, and a lot of emphasis is being placed on the goodness of trade union in America, although it has not reached very far, because a number of things I've just been coming to beach, so just sick leave, vacation leave, and the rights of work or the right to a tribunal and the right to protest. So I have been noticing that, and I remember the president made
Hold a moment. Pick it up after the break, please.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
2:45.
the Auto World.
It's the only program on Jamaican radio dedicated to the world of automobile. It's the Auto World with Chevy and McLagan. Get news and reviews related to vehicles and automotive technology. Learn the ins and outs of mechanical operation. Find out about the various stakeholders in the local and international automotive sectors. From auto finance to road safety to motorcycles, the Auto World is your one-stop shop for everything auto. That's the Auto World with Shelly and McLagan. Weekdays at 5:15 p.m. on Power 106 FM and the Power 106 FM app.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on both sides of the story. Just before the break, you are about to tell us about the bringing some trade union matters.
yes, I've noticed that the campaign in America now, Mr. Harris and Mr. Biden, the campaign that is coming up for the election is that it has taken a white tone of the workers representative are invited there a big meeting with them and talk about the purpose of the trade union and the rights of workers. The trade union has not been, it has been long been before Jamaica, but there's a number of things that we have done here. They have not done it, and we have a number of books like the labor laws, the workers' rights, equal pay for women, and so on. And we have also put some emphasis on the ILO Convention, where it says that we're a body of workers work in a similar position. The pay should be equal, but we notice that in the post office, where we have a new postmaster general and some lousy management, that the postal agents who are not postal clerks, they do a different type of operation. They work 5 days a week and 3 days. But they have not received any benefits such as equal pay, minimum wage pay. And I mean, sir, it's a crisis in the world. We have management sit down and can do something. We have the new PMG can do something, can say to the minister in charge of the post office, we have 150 of these people, women exclusively, without a minimum wage, without any benefits. What can we do to them? The unions of poor, unions of men. So there's a lot to be done, sir. And I say, what does I like to today about the donkey and the coconut? A lot of these guys going around with thousands of coconut and the donkey. You can ask them. So let me close out by just cheering you up by saying, do you see the black living down the street? Do you hear me making shoes for the street? And every hour blowing on the ring. And every hour is a cling, clang, cling. Now I learned this at 7, 8, 7 in school. I spoke to you about it. We have to find a way to get this song out into the school to cheer up the children. I used to go around, and take a private school and teach it, and it was good. So have a good day, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Same to you. Take care. Thanks a lot for staying with us here on both sides of the story, Poro 106 FM. Still taking your calls on 876-922-4112 to 5. The text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. That's 876-365-3346. The text line, same as the WhatsApp number for both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. Let's clear some of these messages and let's see what we have here in just a moment. So let's go to this message here. I think we have seen these messages already. So Cuban in Georgia continues his protest, in a manner of speaking, when it comes on to the lack of employment of certain key devices to ensure a more secure school environment. Well, those of us who have to operate in such an environment should by now, and that is not to feed complacency, but should by now have a greater sense of awareness, and that awareness has to be clicking every single day. So, all right, so which one of these now, Cuban and Georgia, because you send them back to back, these threads of messages. It sometimes takes a while to unravel the message. We'll do our best. So this one says, Sir Malcolm, what happened to the resorting of the post-digital system by the Jamaica Postal Agency? Sir Malcolm, what's happening at the Jamaica Railway Corporation, and what are they doing to restore rail service to the entire island? Well, there have been overtures, there have been discussions, there have been investigations, and all kinds of headlines you can think of in terms of giving people a sense of hope or a greater sense of hope in relation to these prospects, like the one that you're focused on right now, Cuban in Georgia. So it's either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it, in terms of just not saying something and putting a position out there for the sake of doing it, but with a greater level of understanding and appreciation for what is needed, what is necessary, and therefore act accordingly. Without that, then we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Thank you very much for your message, Cuban in Georgia. As we continue to take your calls on both sides of the story, Poro 106 FM, 876-922-4112-5. 876-922-4112-5. And the text line is the same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. Cuban in Georgia, not Cuban in Georgia this time. Horace, otherwise known as Spider, says, good day. I saw the news yesterday with some people demonstrating in St. Anne, saying that they don't want their MP to serve them anymore. and the news says that she resigned. I believe that was a staged demonstration against the MP, and it's so strange that they have a replacement for her already. There, 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 there's anything. I don't think there's anything strange about that. Stranger things have happened, but they are still stumbling around to find a replacement for the Minister of Finance, as if the stage was set for the one in St. Anne. That's why they could have a replacement waiting to replace the St. Anne MP. But the Minister of Finance resignation, they didn't see it coming, says Horace, otherwise known as Spider. Well, people can go on playing games, but in this day and age, the citizenry of a significant number of countries are demonstrating that they're not prepared to keep putting up with certain tendencies on the part of political representatives. So be careful about the games playing. There's no time or space or place for that. This is serious business. Serious business. So keep those messages coming in and those calls. Let's go to the phone lines. 876 922 4112 to 5. Good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, my Professor Dervan Malcolm.
Good afternoon, Mr. Neville Carter. How are you?
I'm good enough. It's raining out here, cats and down where I am.
Still raining? Oh dear.
Yeah, we like the tropical wave. Look like it is coming over.
Uh-oh. Please be safe.
Yeah, man, I'm cool where I am.
Very good.
Dervan, I just was listening to your program a while ago.
Yes.
And I just want to address 3 issues that I hear on your program.
Mm-hmm.
First thing to come in, the Union of Jamaica, the trade union. There is no trade union in Jamaica that can employ 100 people if they lose their work. Yet the trade unions always going around Jamaica telling people how to run the business. The trade union of Jamaica should be ashamed of themselves.
Why do you say that?
And let me tell you why I say that.
Mm-hmm.
You see, with the current digital revolution that is taking place in the world,
Yes.
the system not going to have use for certain categories of jobs. You see, at post office will become useless. They don't have any use for post office anymore. People stop sending telegrams. People stop writing letters, they're texting and calling, WhatsApp. You see, librarians must go and find another skill. They don't have any use for libraries anymore. They are online libraries and AI taking over those industries. The newspaper industry under serious stress. Anything that deals with paper, accounting, what I do, under serious stress. Secretaries in offices under serious stress. Teachers at certain category under threat. Journalists under threat. And the union need to start telling the population what time it is, so that the population can diversify the skills. You know, about 10 years ago, I hear you say something on this program, and it resonates with me up to this day. When I hear you say, if certain things doesn't work for you in journalism anymore, you're taking it to teaching. And I rate you for that. I rate you for that, Dervan. So you are willing to diversify your skills. And I know a man like you, based on how I see you move, you're a very creative thinker, and I learn a lot of creative thinking from your Dervan Malcolm, based on your whole acumen.
That's very kind of you to say. Hold a moment, please. One moment.
Contractors, developers, and small builders. Contact Coast to Coast Group of Companies for high quality concrete products. The time by Coast to Coast Group of Companies is
3 o'clock. Power 106 FM, the digital sound, and now reaching you in more ways. Listen to us on 106.1 to 106.9 on the FM band. You can also listen to us on the Power 106 FM app, which you can download on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can tune in on your mobile phones by dialing 631-359-8281 if you're in the US. And if you're in the UK, you can dial 0330-606-0953. Plus, listen to us on onespotmedia.com and the One Spot Media app, or log on to go-jamaica.com. Power 106 FM, where all views can contend, giving you powerful talk radio in so many ways, on air and online.
We always need to hear both sides of the story.
Thanks for holding, Mr. Carter. Over to you.
Yes, sir. But another thing I want to address is the railway.
Mhm.
Too much in Georgia, I must big up in too much in Georgia. I really like to text them that you're telling you, but the railway is dead, Dervan.
Mhm.
You see this contract that they signed with the people who hold the toll,
Yes,
like the Chinese and the French.
yes.
There's clauses in those contracts that tell them that they have guaranteed revenue
Mhm.
and they can't have any competing transportation while they operate in the toll because their revenue must be secure. So you couldn't have a toll running from there, Spanish Town to downtown Kingston, like what I grew up with, right? I could take a train at Greater Park and it dropped me at downtown Kingston. You can't have that while the toll in Portmore operating by boat from France.
Mhm.
Because the contracts that the government sign over
Yes.
is that they can't have any railway service because it affects their revenue.
Mhm.
And another thing that the people must know, Dervan.
Before you move on, just as a corollary to what was said earlier on, that with respect to the libraries, what Mr. Carter said about libraries not being relevant anymore. Well, there's a Hmm?
Not me saying that the system is going to get rid of all libraries.
Right, and there is someone who is countering. M-Jam.
Go ahead.
M-Jam says, Sir Dervan, I don't agree with Neville about the relevance of libraries. Here in Los Angeles, libraries are used by many for remote work. These libraries also have the latest technologies.
I want you to, you see, in Jamaica, yeah, I used to study at Sam Library near the little theater. Go there now and see how many children in there studying those books. Not going to be libraries like that in Jamaica anymore. Probably first world country, but not around here, Dervan.
Okay.
Yeah, another thing I want to say that the people understand about this toll thing. You see the toll, Dervan, a man will pay him toll and him drive through the system, right?
Yes.
But these tolls, they are owned by pension funds abroad.
Mhm.
So when you drive through the Portmore toll and you pay your toll back and front, those money is converted into foreign exchange. And it is paid over to the foreign companies and they use that to pay their work and that's pension. So in Jamaica here now, and I can put it out there to anybody, like especially the transport sector, when a JUTC bus goes through the toll, the JUTC bus has to pay about $1,000 plus for the toll.
Yeah.
Anytime they drive through $1,000 plus, you see when one of the co-star and the taxi man drive through the toll, they have to pay their toll fee as well. But you see the JUTC driver, they they contribute when their payroll run by the JUTs, they have to pay NIS, NHP, and EDSAC back into our social security net. Because when they get old, they're going to rely on the NIS for their welfare, and they can apply for a house to the NHP, and they contribute to the education tax that helps to educate our children. When the normal taxi man drives through the toll, and the yellow bus, them what you call coaster buses, none of those drivers are doctors that are on those buses. Don't pay any NIS or NHT or education tax. And that must stop, Dervan. The tax office needs to say about that, and the Transport Association needs to say about that. Because at the end of the day, these people will become burden to the system when they get old. And the Minister of Transport and the Ministry of Finance should be educating these people about that. Because we cannot have the NIS money and the NHT money going overseas while our local people getting old and not being benefiting from those money that those drivers and conductors earning every week. It must stop.
Your position is quite clear.
Yeah, another thing that I want to tell you, Dervan, is that a lot of people in America, they're talking about this election that is coming on with Republican and Democrat.
Yes.
And a lot of them predicting that there will be a civil war in America after the election, irrespective of who wins. Because both political parties, their ideology is different. And a lot of people don't want to go in the direction of the Democrats. It is wrecking their lives and their businesses. And a lot of people don't want to go with Donald Trump because his policy will wreck their life. It's the same thing going on in Jamaica here, you see? Both the PNP and the JLC are not talking politics now. Are talking mathematical, fundamental policy that they have on the ground, the average man on the ground. We'll have to get a better understanding of these policies from their MP and their councillors, so that when the time comes to vote, and a decision is made, they know what they're voting for in Dervan.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, everything that you see here is a transfer of stress. And the last thing I want to point out is that a lot of people in America and England and all over the Western world, they're losing their work at very high level because of the change in technology. But most of them have employment insurance. I want to point out to the Jamaican people again, if you work at a place and you're not collecting a pay slip that show all your deductions, when the NIPS come, the NIPS, the National Identification Program, when it comes, and it has to come, whether PNP win or JLP win, it must come because it is a prerequisite by the IMF and the banks of the country that the government must put a national ID in place. And with this, all of these storms that's coming over and earthquakes, the government will have to have a tool where they can know, say, if Never Carter joined the food line, they're dealing with Never Carter who pays taxes in the system and not somebody impersonating Never Carter through identity theft. Wrong or right, Dervan?
You're correct.
Yeah, so in order to safeguard yourself, please make sure that your employer, when you work you, at the end of the month or the end of the fortnight or the end of the week, you must have a pay slip that show all of your statutory pay over to the government, so that when the needs drop, you are part of the system. If not, believe it or not, you'll be treated as a alien in Jamaica. Here's Dervan.
Loud and clear. It's something you've been talking about for some time.
All right, let me tell you one of my assignments now that I get. I'm supposed to go and study, do a research on the Bank of America and report back what is happening in the Bank of of America to one of my directors so that they can gauge their system to when the collapse come, how they can diversify the system. And one of the reasons why that came up is because one of the billionaires of America named Bob Buffett, Buffett away one name.
Oh, that's
A billionaire, American billionaire.
Jimmy. Is it Jimmy? Jimmy Buffett?
Jimmy Buffett him name. Buffett, thank you, my professor. He sold 34 million of his share in Bank of Jamaica and Bank of America for cash. And all the banks, major banks of the world, they are holding gold. They are buying gold, using the cash to buy gold. And when you see they start buying up precious metal like gold and silver, it is a sign that there's something fundamentally wrong with the economy. And they are preparing for a rainy day. Our Bank of Jamaica, they have 1 ounce of gold in there. You know what is the value of gold now, Dervan? $2,500 an ounce.
Whew.
You know what was it at the start of the year? 2,000 US. So the gold is one of the better commodity in the market.
One of the most sought after.
Thank you, Dervan, my professor. Commodity in the world today. So all of you out here listening to this program, if you have any gold earring, gold ring, or gold chain, or any gold, don't sell it. Because gold price is estimated to go above 3,000 and when the crash comes. Because there's a crash coming in a Dervan.
Well, people are not waiting. People have already started selling more gold.
Thank you. And you in World War III, you know, you hear what they say now. I'm never leaving with it. It will be the BRICS Bank versus the IMF. And the IMF is gearing up itself with some bright people like Dr. Nigel Clark, so that when you borrow money from them, when you negotiate with them, these bright people can implement strategy so that the IMF get back their money with interest from countries like Jamaica. And when they set in their financial policy to get their interest, they don't business who they're killing a Dervan. Because they don't business with you qualitatively, you know. It's two things them say. God and money. And I'm glad I put in these messages out there because when my time comes to leave this planet, I can lie down on the deathbed and say, I told you so. Because the politicians not going to tell you so, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Have a good day, my professor.
All right. Thank you very much for the call.
And thank you every day for this program, Dervan. You're a blessing in disguise.
Thank you. You too. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. We're still taking your calls on 876-922-4112-5. And the text line, same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. To the phone lines once again. Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Mr. Malcolm, how are you?
I am giving thanks for life. And you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much. Yeah, so this is a quick call. I wanted to follow up on
Is this Natalie?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Lady without a name.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, so I wanted to follow up on what Mr. Francis was saying about the donkey and the animals generally. Just to support the point he was making about us being a little bit more considerate in how we treat the animals. The donkey is a beast of burden, or we see them that way, but they are living creatures and they feel. So we really have to be sensitive about not overloading them. it is unkind and it is cruel. I know that we have a problem with how we treat living things, including people.
That's right.
But yeah, we just really have to do better. I think it's a part of our growth as a people, as a nation, that we care, exercise a little bit more compassion when we're dealing with
One moment, please. One moment.
Sure.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:15. Power 106 FM, the digital sound, now reaching you in more ways. Listen to us on 106.1 to 106.9 on the FM band. You can also listen to us on the Power 106 FM app, which you could download on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can tune in on your mobile phones by dialing 631-359-8281 if you're in the US. And if you're in the UK, you can dial 0330-606-0953. Plus, listen to us on onespotmedia.com and the One Spot Media app, or log on to go-jamaica.com. Power 106 FM, where all views can contend, giving you powerful talk radio in so many ways, on air and online.
We always need to hear both sides of the story. Both sides of the story.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm. We're still taking your calls on 876-922-4112-5. 876-922-4112-5. The text line is the same as the WhatsApp number, 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. Thanks for holding.
Yes, Mr. Malcolm. Yeah, there's really no need for us to, be hitting the dogs and the donkeys and the goats and whatever. There's nothing to be gained from hitting them. And they do feel pain, and they have emotion. And as human beings, our responsibility is not to dominate and conquer them, but to take care of them.
That's right.
We're stewards of the land and of the animals and the creatures who need our help in order to survive. There is a real problem, I know, in the country. The towns are overrun with the dogs, with stray dogs, especially. And like in every forum that I've brought it up, the response is the same, that the PCA is under capacity and underfunded and so on. And I get the shortage of resources, but we just have to pay attention. We have to make a way and find a way and to bring the people in with their sense of responsibility for these creatures. I'm really grateful to Mr. Francis for bringing it up, because we tend to go on and on about PNP and JLP and bad roads and this and that and that. And this is a really overlooked area of, some of what we need to do to move the country forward. That's one. And then the last point in response to Mr. Carter and the post office and the library, I think the way he's looking at it is just kind of limited. I think, the
Who did you say, Mr.
Carter, Mr. Neville Carter.
Oh, Carter. Okay, for a moment there, I thought you said Carter.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that.
Because that's a former principal at Calabar.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So we get the change that is happening, and some of the functions that these institutions used to perform. It is true that they're going out of fashion, but what is being done, and I think what should be done in Jamaica, where we need like different kinds of services, particularly in the rural areas, is to reposition them. Mr. Malcolm, when I was growing up in Jamaica, you could get, the banking was done at the post office, right? The post office served as, at least some of them, as rural branches. I believe of the Workers' Bank. So you could actually go to the post office and deposit money and withdraw money. And it's just kind of strange that now as we have advanced, I hear people talking about not being able to access money from the ATM and so on and so forth. But back in the days, 30 plus 40 years ago, you used to be able to get money from the post office.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to reposition these institutions. The library, what he's saying, definitely not in my experience. In fact, what they're doing here in the U.S., the other person from California is saying, is really building communities around the library, because we realize, the powers that be, the policymakers realize that in the digital age, the need for community is still very strong. And so what they do is develop the libraries into places where people can find these communities. So you have the traditional books, you have computers, you have meeting rooms, a lot of things that you might not be able to source on your own. They make the library a space where you can source these things. And communities are being developed around libraries. So if you look at it in a very narrow sense, that we don't need books, that we don't need that or not anymore, then you kind of miss the point and miss the opportunity of what libraries do and what they need to do and what they can be. So I just want to put that out there, that libraries are not dying. They might be in Jamaica because we're not thinking it through carefully. But in the rest of the world, they are being repositioned and repurposed to serve as major hubs in the community.
Well said.
Yeah, so I was persuaded to call you this evening, Mr. Malcolm, because I felt it was important.
Indeed.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for caring.
You are so welcome. Take good care until next time.
Same to you.
All right, good.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This is your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. And still taking your calls. Let's clear a few of your messages. This one from Mavis saying, "Good day, Mr. Dervan. I was impressed with the man talking about the donkey. Animals are beautiful creatures and we should treat them with respect. I really love them. Always wanted to interact more with a horse. They are so intelligent. Thank you." Thank you very much for your message. Mavis, thank you. Thank you for your interest. Here's another one. This one from Neville, otherwise known as Salah, says, "Dervan, I believe Matthew Samuda is going to be replacing Nigel Clark as finance minister. I don't believe that Mr. Holness could be." We have to jump over that. You always put in a word or a term that we are not allowed to say on the radio, and that wastes time. So please plan it properly, please. So you're saying, I believe Matthew Samuda is going to be replacing Nigel Clark as finance minister. I don't believe that having an election in South Trelawney going a year, for not having an election in South Trelawney going a year, Marcia Smith, she has resigned, and holding by-elections by month end. This is no other, there is no other reason why this could be happening, says Salah from Kingston. Thank you, Salah from Kingston. Good afternoon to Rohan Johnson from Atlas Ocho Rios. Good to hear from you. Thank you very much. This one says, good afternoon, Mr. Malcolm. Read the contact number for the farmer in Porus. I keep texting you as you said. You said I should call. I called you at 5 p.m. off air. No response. How can I get his number? That's a reminder that we are still on the air. So we may or may not be able to retrieve that number. Well, for this, we have a number here. I wonder if this is it. I'm not sure. All right. Can you, well, you said you sent me a message. Is that it? To the person. We'll have to follow up off air. We can't, sorry, we have to follow up off air. Sorry about that. But if it shouldn't be hard. It's just a number, a phone number that you will send to me, whether WhatsApp it or text it or dial it. That's it. And we'll just try to make sure that it gets to the right person. Okay? Thank you very much for your patience and understanding. As we continue with more on both sides of the story here on Power 106. Franklin McDonald, as usual, is doing what he does best, still feeding us with information, factual information. And we plus a link to the JSPCA, the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Cuban in Georgia says, no child in America. Oh, Cuban in Georgia. Where do we start? Hold on there now. Sir Malcolm, just as the individual from Jamaica, we asking for pardon from the President, Joseph Biden. The nation has to create new ways of working with AI and also working with the human side of history that will never go away. Look at the United States Postal Service in America, which has advanced way ahead to transform USPS with a digital revolution in delivering letters and packages. And there's another thread to that message from Mr. Carter, says Cuban in Georgia. Mr. Carter, brilliant, but we don't all have addresses in Jamaica. The postal agencies can operate like a FedEx service or any courier service. We have to fix the address of all Jamaican citizens, not a post office address, to advance the new technology of the postal agencies' services to citizens of Jamaica. So, Mr. Carter, if the postal agency is remodeled, we, the taxpayers, will benefit from a better service. Well, we'll see how that unfolds. Thank you for your messages. One moment, please.
Protect Jamaica's borders. Tell us about any illegal guns coming through customs controlled areas. Call Crime Stop at 311. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is 3:30. Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. for Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, hearing both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm on Power 106 FM. It's your source of information regarding U.S. immigration matters. Combined with Power 106 FM's pioneer of diaspora broadcasting. Call in with your U.S. immigration queries and concerns on 876-924-11225 or send a text or WhatsApp message to 876-279-8598 and get the answers you need for your U.S. immigration questions. That's Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. during both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm, only on Power 106 FM.
We always need to hear both sides of the story. Both sides of the story. Neighborhood peace is shining. It's the middle of the night. Young faces hide in the shadows while they watch their mother fall apart. He says she's been faithful. She says her love for him is gone. And the brother shrugs to his sister and says, looks like it's just us from now on. Oh, we always need to hear both sides of the story. We need to hear both sides of the story. And the lights are all on. The world is watching now. People looking for truth. We must not fail now. Be sure before we close our eyes. Walk away from here to the evil side. No, 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 no.
Let's clear a couple of messages. This one says, "Good day. My name is Kimberly. This is my second time listening to Mr. Neville Carter, and I am impressed. I'm about to start math evening class, and Mr. Carter sounds so knowledgeable about math. Could you ask him if he could assist me? Thanks in advance." Well, we could try to connect you with him. Might have to exchange numbers. All right, we'll check on that off air. In the meantime, we continue with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Live on your smart devices all over the world. And coming up at 4 o'clock this afternoon, it will be time for service stalwarts, recognizing individuals who have given outstanding service, saluting their sacrifice and the strong spirit to improve the lives of many. And so that's coming up at 4 o'clock this afternoon here on Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. And our featured guest will be Mrs. Sonita Abrams, OD, that's the Order of Distinction, chairperson of Rise Life Management Services. So you can stand by for that interview, and a good time to spread the word so that it goes viral, so that friends and family and well-wishers and colleagues prepare themselves to listen to Mrs. Sanita Abrams. So this is coming up on Service Stalwarts, the feature that recognizes individuals who have given outstanding service, saluting their sacrifice and the strong spirit to improve the lives of many. So listen out for that, and we'll see how that goes here on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. And we want to encourage those who have the opportunity to benefit from any of these services, that they will do so in a manner that gives a level of comfort and doing so in dignity. And so we continue in the meantime to clear some more messages here on both sides of the story. Cuban in Georgia certainly has a lot to say. He says the Postal Service, the Transportation Service, the agricultural sector, the Light and Power Company, the National Telephone Communications, the nation's National Water Commission will have to be subsidized to the benefit of all citizens of Jamaica, says Cuban in Georgia. So you'd have to tell us some more on that, Cuban in Georgia. What's the basis of your conclusion? Maybe you can tell us at some point. And Franklin McDonald is on board again, as usual. Did we tell you? So there's a link on the subject matter of cruelty to animals. And we're trying to download. Here we go. So it's the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. It's a registered charity founded in 1904 by Lady Lumb, Lumb, maintains good relationships with the various SPCAs, that's the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And this is the organization, the JSPCA, that's the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, is a registered charity and was founded in 1904 by Lady Lumb, Lumb. It maintains good relationships with the various societies for the prevention of cruelty to animals in the United States and the Caribbean. So you can check out that link to the J, and thank you for sharing it, Mr. McDonald. So that's the JSPCA. As we continue with more on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. And looking forward to more of your messages and your calls on 876-922-4112-5 and the text line 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. as we continue with more on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM, getting a little closer to this afternoon's special feature in Service Stalwarts, recognizing individuals who have given outstanding service, saluting their sacrifice and the strong spirit to improve the lives of many. And our guest, as we told you, will be Mrs. Sunita Abrams, OD, Order of Distinction, Chairperson of Rise Life Management Services. And that number, by the way, well, no, we'll come back to that. So that's to prep you for what is to come. And it's quite an extensive CV, as you would imagine. She has been busy, and we're going to hear more when the conversation gets going. In the meantime, we thank those who continue to message us. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Cherry Henry, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan and listeners. She says, I still can't get Power 106 on the radio. Oh dear. Oh dear. And Fayweller says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan and faithful listeners. I'm here listening to the radio. So it's a mixed bag. Inez Ayona Campbell says, pleasant Wednesday afternoon to everyone. To you too, Inez Ayona Campbell. Thank you for connecting and being a part of the program. Cynthia Jackson, thank you. Welcome. And let's hop across to YouTube and see who we have over here. On YouTube, it's M Jam saying, Sir Dervan, oh, we read this one already, about not agreeing with Neville about the relevance of libraries. And he had said over there in Los Angeles, libraries are used by many for remote work. And these libraries also have the latest technologies. Hawthorne White asks, where is Power 106 FM? Power 106 FM is at 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. That's Power 106 FM, located at 32 Lyndhurst Road, the same location where you're going to come upon Television Jamaica, JNN, RETV. Shall I go on? So that's where we are broadcasting from, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Hope that response is good enough for Hawthorne White. That's where we're located. Thank you very much for asking. Donovan Campbell says, good day, Mr. Malcolm. Good day to you too, Donovan Campbell. Thank you for checking in as usual. Good to have you on board here on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. We continue to stream live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. We're coming up on another break right now, so let's get ready for that. And thank you for continuing to listen to both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. Let's send you to the break and come back in just a moment.
listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:45. How much do you know about spices and the impact they have on your everyday life? Join us every first and third Thursday during Farm Talk with Althea McKenzie at 6:18 a.m. for Spice Up Jamaica. We'll give you tips, tidbits, and interviews about the revitalization and sustainability of the Jamaican spices, including ginger, turmeric, and pimento. That's Spice Up Jamaica every first and third Thursday at 6:18 a.m. during Farm Talk with Althea McKenzie, right here on Power 106 FM. Spice Up Jamaica is brought to you by the U.S. Department of Agriculture Food for Progress Jamaica Spices Project.
Sleeping with an empty bottle. He's a sad and an empty hearted man. He needs a job, a little respect. He could get out while he can. We always need to hear both sides of the story. Both sides of the story. Neighborhood peace is shattered. It's the middle of the night. Young faces hide in the shadows while they watch their mother run for the fight. He says she's been unfaithful. She says her love for him is gone. And the brother shrugs to his sister and says, looks like it's just us from now on. Oh, we always need to hear both sides of the story. We need to hear both sides of the story. And the lights are all on. The world is watching now. People looking for truth. We must not fail now. Be sure before we close our eyes. Walk away from here to the evil side. No, 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 no.
Thank you very much for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm. Some more messages to clear. Cuban in Georgia, said the state of Georgia in the United States says subsidizing all these government agencies, as referenced in the previous message or one of the previous messages, subsidizing all these government agencies will better the lives of Jamaicans, creating new opportunities and employment for the adults and the children, including those who are retirees, to come back and help the Gens or Gen Zs or Gen Zs to make better decisions on respect and dignity to treat with one another, or put another way, to deal with one another. So that's another thread of messages. Franklin McDonald says, Dervan, I would argue that your answer to the question of where Power 106 is incorrect. Power 106 is in Everest. Smart speaker on smart device in the hands of any person who is interested in finding Power 106. Okay, Mr. McDonald. I can give you a number to call and give you a sense of direction. How about that? Here's a message from Precious in New Monkland, St. Thomas. It's been a while. She tells us it's raining heavily in New Monkland. Sending out greetings to her brother-in-law, Mr. Leroy Taylor, overseas and his wife. They are regular listeners to both sides of the story, and they say all the best. Many happy returns to you and your family. Keep those messages coming in. Let's see, what is this now? Horace, otherwise known as Spider, has a bit to say now. Where does it start? Let's see. Mr. Malcolm, I wish the individual who is widening the scope of the green plate could get a job overseas and migrate. Mr. Malcolm, it is killing the small businesses in Jamaica. Even the bike who do transactions are required to have, so you're saying even the motorcyclists who do transactions are required to have green plates. 3 persons out of 4, you ask, how are they coping with a green plate or the lack thereof? They have a horror story to tell you. It is killing businesses in Jamaica, especially the small man. Can you imagine a motorcyclist now requires a green plate? I don't know who is looking out for the small business people, and must say I don't own a green plate, but I know the problems that these people are going through. We really have not been able to get at least 1 or 2 of the officials to sit down and answer some questions with respect to the green plates. We need to try harder. But not that anyone would be fighting against anyone or any special group of people or any other group of individuals. It's just making sure that we're doing what is right. That's really what I'm curious to detect and determine, that what is being done is in fact right. Is it right? Is it correct? Is it what is supposed to happen? Is it the law? Even though we do know there can be issues, debatable matters in law, but it all has to be done in a manner that does not take away from the importance of a respect for certain principles, laws, approaches, protocols. And if there is red tape, then let us try and transform that red tape into a line that says go. So we trust that there are those who have already started to take another look at the situation, and if we can get all views to contend insofar as its implications are concerned. But we can't just keep this hanging. We've kept it hanging for too long. And all kinds of things can happen when things are left hanging, or listeners, or anyone in general left hanging results in a level of uncertainty. Okay, what do I do next? Where do we turn to next, etc. As opposed to knowing what the situation is or what it should be and how it's supposed to flow, what is supposed to happen, what's the procedure, what's the correct procedure, and more. That's just the tip of the iceberg, really. But we can't have these things hanging in the air, because then some people might think of creating their own laws, their own intentions, outcomes. But we have to know what the facts are. We have to know what the truth is. We have to know what the law says. So we have to take all of these elements into consideration in order to come to a particular conclusion from where to move on. But we can't be hearing about this thing, and I gather it has been raised in different circles, but still hanging. So we're going to have to try and see what we can do in that regard so that we can put that to bed once and for all. In the meantime, though, we're still taking your calls on 876 922 4112 to 5, and the text line 876 365 3346. And Horace, otherwise known as Spider, says, I don't know of any other island in the Caribbean or in America required to do so. Why Jamaica? And this is in relation to having to sport green plates, green registration plates, if you are transporting goods. I don't know the extent or the level, if there's a certain calibration that has to be done to determine how to proceed from here on in. So it's a matter that we have to follow up with. I'm surprised we haven't been able to clear that up once and for all. But people are busy, others are unconcerned, and it's a matter of working your way around to tackling that particular issue. And it's not always as easy as it seems, but some will argue it's as easy as you make it. Whatever it is, we have to get over that one sooner rather than later, because we can't have it hanging. Can't leave it hanging. All right, so coming up in a matter of seconds, it will be time for service stalwarts, recognizing individuals who have given outstanding service, saluting their sacrifice and the strong spirit to improve the lives of many. There's more after the break.
That's why I love the world. We always need to hear both sides of the story. Both sides of the story.
At Wellington Dental, they offer cleaning, filling, whitening, and other services for the entire family. The time by Wellington Dental is
4 o'clock. Power 106 FM, the digital sound, and now reaching you in more ways. Listen to us on 106.1 to 106.9 on the FM band. You can also listen to us on the Power 106 FM app, which you can download on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can tune in on your mobile phones by dialing 631-359-8281 if you're in the US. And if you're in the UK, you can dial 0330-606-0953. Plus, listen to us on onespotmedia.com and the One Spot Media app, or log on to go-jamaica.com. Power 106 FM, where all views can contend, giving you powerful talk radio in so many ways, on air and online.
Poor roads a major concern? What about those drains that are in need of repair or cleaning? Who's responsible for repairing my road, and when will it be done? Join us this and every Tuesday morning at 8 during Morning Agenda as we travel on our roads with the National Works Agency and get answers to these and other concerns. You're welcome to visit their website at www.nwa.gov.jm. See the tender notices link for projects to be undertaken. You may also call them toll-free at 1-888-429-5NWA. That's 1-888-429-5692. Or follow them on Twitter at NWA_JA and Facebook at www.facebook.com/NWA Jamaica. The National Works Agency, developing safe, reliable, and quality roads. Join us every Sunday for Indian Talent on Parade with Dr. Winston Toland from 5 to 6 p.m. Listen and learn all you need to know about the Indian community, culture, and music. That's Indian Talent on Parade with Dr. Winston Toland, 5 to 6 p.m. every Sunday, right here on Power 106 FM and the Power 106 FM app. Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. for Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington during Both Sides of the Story with Dervan Malcolm on Power 106 FM. It's your source of information regarding U.S. immigration matters, combined with Power 106 FM's pioneer of diaspora broadcasting. Call in with your U.S. immigration queries and concerns on 876-9224-11225 or send a text or WhatsApp message to 876-279-8598 and get the answers you need for your U.S. immigration questions. That's Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. during Both Sides of the Story with Dervan Malcolm, only on Power 106 FM.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm. It's a Wednesday afternoon, just after 4 o'clock. So that means time for us to feature our service stalwarts, recognizing individuals who have given outstanding service, saluting their sacrifice and the strong spirit to improve the lives of many. Our guest is Mrs. Sonita Abrams, OD, Chairperson of Rise Life Management Services. Good afternoon to you, Mrs. Abrams. How are you?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm very well, thank you. I do have a new name, though, now, by the way.
Oh,
I am Sonita Burrows. I got married some years ago.
Okay, well, I'm way behind.
That's okay.
Congratulations.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so it's Mrs. Anita Burrows.
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much
no problem.
for that. All right, so
Mhm.
we're curious to find out how you would characterize your journey
Sure.
so far.
Yes. Well, interestingly, my journey actually began in the early 80s. I had recently come back to Jamaica from living in Miami for some years. Um, and I went to church one morning with my dad up at Aquinas Center. And Father Richard Holong was preaching. And he said to us, you middle class Jamaicans cannot sit on your verandas and chat about all the atrocities occurring in Jamaica. You need to get up and take some action. So after Mass, I went to him and I offered him my services. At the time, I was doing my master's degree in clinical psychology at UWI. And so he said, okay, you're coming with me to Rima. I'll meet you there tomorrow. There's a bunch of people who have been um, thrown out of their homes, and we really need some intervention. So, I mean, I have to admit that I probably never gone into them kind of communities before. Anyway, I found myself to Rima. And then and yes, we did see a lot of atrocities. But he was also counseling in the gun court. He was doing counseling. He was teaching. I think it was math and English. And he asked me if I would come with him and counsel the men in the gun court. And I agreed. And I must say, Malcolm, I think that's what changed my life.
Mhm.
I discovered, I want to say I discovered God in all of those men, even those men who had been accused of murder. When I counseled them and I went back into their histories, I found so much trauma, unresolved, unhealed traumas. Anyway, I did that for a few years, including um, doing a big Christmas lunch for them every year. And then I think I burnt out.
Mhm.
I stopped and I started managing a company, a screen printing and ink manufacturing company. I did that for 3 years. And one day, I'll never forget, I was on my way to work and I had a conversation with God. And I said, I know I was put on this earth to do something significant, and this is not it. I need guidance and I need direction. And I think in about 2 weeks, maybe, I got a call from a colleague who said, there's a group of people opening a substance abuse program, a drug treatment program. It was being hosted or managed by the private sector organization of Jamaica, and they're looking for an administrator. I went for an interview. I got the job. I went to my board of directors of the factories and said, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I resigned. I was hired. I remember renting the place, furnishing it. It was in the Ligony area, and we opened our doors in 1990 in either September or the beginning of October 1990, the Addiction Alert Organization, and we operated an outpatient drug treatment program. Within 3 months, the clinical director left. The executive director had a relapse, and I was asked by the board of directors if I would take on the job as the executive director. I did it, even though, to be very honest, I didn't know much about substance abuse. I found that the training was very lacking. Anyway, I learned on the job. Um, Fast forward a couple of years, I got a scholarship, a Fulbright fellowship to the Johns Hopkins University. My board of directors at Addiction Alert gave me the time off, kept my job for me. So after 2 years, I came back and I was then a real public health person. I really understood the importance of public health. We, by then, a building had been purchased in downtown Kingston on East Street in an area called Tel Aviv. And in 2005, we changed the name to RISE Life Management Services. And RISE is an acronym for Reaching Individuals Through Skills and Education. And I was very focused on reaching young people, at risk people, youngsters, but also community members, especially women, before they got in trouble, before they got into a life of drugs or crime, and giving them the skills they needed. So we did a lot more what we call primary and secondary prevention rather than tertiary prevention, which is treatment. And, fast forward 30 years, I retired as ED, I think 2.5 years ago, perhaps, after about 30 years. And yes, I still chair the board, though. And that's kind of my story.
Yes.
Oh, then I got my OD. I got the Order of Distinction in 2017. Yes. Yes.
And what of all you've done so far, what for you is what for you do you consider to be that one thing that happened or you did or someone did that impacted you, and would it have been in a negative or a positive way? In other words, something that happened that could take you one way or another.
Right. You mean in my personal life?
More
my professional life.
Perfect. Yes.
I have to say, at the beginning when you were introducing me and you said sacrifice, I have to say this has never been a sacrifice for me. This has always been, I want to say I'm very fortunate, privileged, grateful to have been able to do this work. I was led into it by a higher force. I was prepared. I'm also, by the way, I'm also a yoga teacher. I've been practicing yoga for over 45 years.
Whoa.
And that was, so I have my own studio, Afia, and that kept me balanced spiritually, mentally, physically while I did this work. But coming back to, I saw young people change. I saw us giving young people, including staff that we have. There was a bunch of young people, there were about 40 of them, that came to work with us, funded by the European Union and a project. And we trained them to be youth educators. We call it AFOs, Adolescent Facilitating Officers. And out of those, we still have about 10 that are either actively working with us in managerial positions at RISE or working with us in communities. I think that has been my biggest, I want to say, achievement, seeing young people get an opportunity. At the time that they came to us, two things they could not do if they wanted to keep their jobs. They couldn't use drugs and they couldn't get pregnant. These young people were 17, 18 years old. And those of them that stayed in the program, the women finally, if they had children, they had one or two. Many of them now have university degrees. They have cars, they have good jobs. And so it's been such a fulfilling experience when you give someone who has limited opportunities, when you see them, you recognize them, you respect them, and you give them what they need. Hands up. It might just be telling them that they are worthy and worthwhile, and giving them an opportunity to perhaps get their subjects in high school. And you change their lives, and not only change their lives, but their lives change for the better, and their families' lives change for the better, and they change communities for the better. So it's very, very important work, and it's been my privilege to have been guided to this work for the past 35, 40 years.
Yes. There was a change in the name of the organization,
yes.
Right?
Yes, Addiction Alert Organization. And the reason we changed to RISE, Life Management Services, and as I mentioned, RISE is an acronym for Reaching Individuals with Skills and Education. And we changed that name because under the name Addiction Alert, it was very, very difficult for us to get funding. To be honest, nobody really wanted to fund a drug treatment program. It was just really hard.
Okay, one moment, please. We're going to come back to that point right after this break.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:15. Whether you're overseas or in Jamaica, everybody wants their little piece of yard. Well, that's where a JMMB back mortgage comes in. With JMMB, you'll get more support, more incentives, more benefits, more coverage with JMMB insurance brokers. And also, we give you more time to repay. Your JMMB mortgage expert will answer all of your questions and guide you every step along the journey. You're not alone with JMMB. Contact us at info@jmmb.com and learn how you can get more than just a mortgage.
Morning Agenda continues the tradition of providing a unique platform for healthy public debate. Weekdays from 7:15 to 9 a.m. Join Jody and Corey on Mondays and Tuesdays and Kemwan McEachron on Wednesdays and Thursdays, while they alternate on Fridays as they set the agenda and break down the issues and keep you informed on what matters to you most. Morning Agenda, speaking with the stakeholders, movers and shakers of our day, serving listeners in Jamaica and around the world. Stay tuned to the Morning Agenda on Power 106 FM, weekdays 7:15 to 9 a.m., where we set the agenda.
It's the middle of the night. Young faces hide in the shadows while they watch their mother and father fight. He says she's been her face. She says her love for him is gone. And the brother shrugs to his sister and says, looks like it's just us from now on. Oh, we always need to hear both sides of the story. We need to hear both sides of the story. And the lights are all on. The world is watching now. People looking for truth. We must not win.
Sonita Burrows is a Hubert Humphrey Fellow who attended the Johns Hopkins University and spent a year focusing on policy development and management of health services, particularly in the field of substance abuse prevention and treatment. She went on to complete a Master of Health Science degree and, as a member of the Hopkins alumni, coordinated the establishment of a network of fellows worldwide in substance abuse treatment and prevention. She also wrote a chapter on drug prevention and rehabilitation in the Caribbean, published a book entitled The Political Economy of Drugs in the Caribbean in 2000. Who are we talking about? Our guest on this week's edition of Service Stalwarts on both sides of the story. And our guest this week is Mrs. Sonita Burrows, OD, Order of Distinction, and chairperson of Rise Life Management Services. And we had to bring it right around to where we're stopping now to go again in terms of the pronunciation. I think it had something to do with the name, the length of the name, or how it came across.
At the time, we were struggling to get funding for Addiction Alert, and our chairman then was Obin Hill. And I remember one day Mr. Hill saying, I think you need to change the name of the organization because everybody thinks that all you're doing is drug treatment. And by then we had branched out to doing a lot more community intervention. And so we met with our young people and came up with a new name, changed it to Rise. It took us many years to then become known because Addiction Alert was a strong name, a strong brand, I should say. However, it was the right decision because we have been able to access much more millions and millions of dollars of grant funding because our focus is now community development, working with at-risk populations, gender-based violence, human rights, etc. And so it was the right move for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have a branch of the organization that is our substance misuse program, where we do drug testing, especially with school children, company employees, counseling, and we do outpatient counseling, one-on-one counseling. Although that program is struggling to survive because, again, it's very hard to get funding for substance misuse, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And what can you tell us in terms of the ease with which you can either receive some form of contribution?
Yes. Well, they can check us out on our website, risejamaica.org. They can call the organization. They can email the organization. I believe it is risejamaica.com, rise, R-I-S-E,
Mm-hmm.
or yes, risejamaica.com, or risejamaica@gmail.com. And the company, the new CEO, her name is Nadine Chambers-Scott, and the office manager, Debbie Pinto, will be very happy to send information on different interventions that we're doing. For example, we're doing an after-school remedial program for the children
Mm-hmm.
of Parade Gardens.
At what age level?
Beg your pardon?
What age level?
They are, I believe it is, I think they start at age 8 and they go up to maybe 12, 13, 14.
Mm-hmm.
Not absolutely sure about that. But I think it's to help children get through their exams and get into a high school.
Mm-hmm.
More information would be on our website and available at our office.
Yes. Are you able to just share with us the pillars on which the organization stands, and how does one create an organization or or curates a community, whichever way it comes out?
Yeah. I think operating a non-governmental organization is not for the faint-hearted. It's a very challenging role because you never know where your funding is going to come from. It's all very competitive.
Yes.
We're really not supported by the government of Jamaica. And so we have to look for funding elsewhere. And so most of our funding, as I said, it's competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So a call will go out for a particular grant, say from the European Union or USAID, and then we apply for it. Now, fortunately, we have a very good reputation because we've been doing this for so many years. And so we tend to be successful in our applications for grants. And, the more grants you successfully do, is the more grants are available to you. So currently, we have about 12 interventions going on at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And, yes, one is the substance misuse program, which I said is always underfunded.
Mm-hmm.
We have a telephone lifeline service where people can call in daily for if they're having any type of problems with a substance misuse issue, whether it's themselves or a family member. We also deal with mental health issues and refer them to other agencies if we're not able to help them. We have employees assistance programs. We have the only gambling prevention and treatment program on the island, and that is funded by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission, and we've been doing that for probably the last 20 years. And that also includes training the gaming staff of all the lounges. We have an intervention called Enabling Opportunities for Persons with Disabilities. So we have been training people, including in the public sector, the police force, etc., in sign language so that they can relate to people that come in.
Mm-hmm.
And we have many others.
We have one called Stimulating Young Minds to Become Achievers, Civil Society Boost Initiative. So the list goes on and on. And I mean, I'm very proud of the staff that we have. We have a very small staff who have been with us for a very long time. So it's really about having a passion for this kind of work. Most of the people that work with us, Sean McGregor, who's our program manager, Sean came to us straight out of high school. He went to St. George's College, came to Rise, and has never left us. He's also just for the peace. He lives in the community, so he is a very positive influence in his community. And a lot of as I said, the staff that have come up through the ranks, our accountant, our office manager, they all came to us. I would say, well, now we're bringing in new members of staff because of all the new projects that we have. But among our permanent staff, I would say they've been with us for over 15 years, between 15 and 30 years. Because of their dedication and love for this work.
And it's still, perhaps in some instances, feels like you've only just begun. I mean, that kind of energy that I hear coming through.
Well, it's been my life's work. And, I will remain involved with them as long as they want me to be. And, I have children all over the world. They call me on Mother's Day. They say, Mrs. A. They call me Mrs. A. When I was just a little boy, there's one who came from Raytown. And he said, I was just a dirty little boy from Raytown. And now he lives in Sweden. And he has a Jamaican restaurant in Sweden. And he's doing extremely well. So, I'm so proud and so happy that I was given this opportunity. As I said, for me, it's an opportunity. There were times, we had incidences. There were times when my caretaker would come in, Pinky, and say, Mrs. A, you need to lock down and go home. We're having warfare in here this evening, and you need to send your staff home now. Like when Dudus, the whole time of Dudus, that was a very, very difficult time for all of us. Some of my young men lived in Tivoli and were under threat. It was bad. But, you overcome that. And it doesn't take long. Our people are so resilient. And, we just look on the bright side. Tomorrow is another day and we survive it and we're going to move on.
Any regrets?
None. Absolutely none. Absolutely no regrets.
You also say it is a very good feeling, because a lot of times this kind of work goes not really unappreciated, but it's not really celebrated the way it needs to be. Also.
Yes, so for me, it's really the people that I've worked with, the lives that I've impacted, and I think the day I die, they're all at my funeral. Because I was their other mother,
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was a great privilege to have done this work.
Well, we want to take this opportunity to salute you and your team for all that you have done thus far, and no doubt all that you will continue doing.
Dervan, can I say one other thing which I think is really important?
Sure.
So when someone decides what their passion in his life is in life, they need not to think or to worry about the money, because the salaries in our field are not great. I became a single woman early in my days at Rise, or at Addiction Alert. I went through university. I was able to save money. I was able to do the things I wanted to do. I became part of an international network, so I went to places all over the world, not at my expense. So when you're doing, I want to say, God's work, things come together, and the universe just sends you whatever you need. So people, it's very important. My message to people, young people, and it's never too late. When I retired, I decided to take on another role. And so it's
it's important to keep busy, but always live your passion. The money will come, the opportunities will come, the resources will come to support that good.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Thank you very much. Congratulations and all the very best. And we're grateful for your time as well this afternoon on
Absolutely.
both
You're
sides
very
of the story.
welcome, and thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Take care.
You're listening to Borough 106 FM. The time is now
4:30.
Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. for Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, hearing both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm on Power 106 FM. It's your source of information regarding U.S. immigration matters, combined with Power 106 FM's pioneer of diaspora broadcasting. Call in with your U.S. immigration queries and concerns on 876-922-411225 or send a text or WhatsApp message to 876-279-8598 and get the answers you need for your U.S. immigration questions. That's Your Legal Corner with Dana Walker Huntington, Thursdays at 3:30 p.m. during both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm, only on Power 106 FM.
We need to job, respect, get out what we can. We always need to hear both sides of the story. Both sides of the story. Neighborhood piece of shadow. It's the middle of the night. Young faces hide in the shadows while they watch the color for the fight. He says she didn't think it. She says her love for him is gone. The brother shrugs to his sister and says, looks like it's just us from now on. We need to hear both sides. We need to hear both sides of the story. And the lights are on.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm. We're still taking your calls on 876-922-4112-5 on the heels of this afternoon's edition of Service Stalwarts. We can't thank Mrs. Sanita Borras enough for agreeing to be a part of this discussion, this conversation, this exposure, this opportunity to hear from a service stalwart. Thank you very much once again, Mrs. Sanita Borras. In the meantime, we continue with more messages and more of your calls. 876-922-4112-5, the numbers to call. There's now someone saying we are paying the second or close to it for electricity. What do you mean, the second highest in the world? Plus this adds to our back. I would like people to call in to tell you them on the road. Mr. Malcolm, they don't want to come on the radio station to explain to you. They are planning what to do because they are the only ones doing it. So they can't come up with the answer yet. Okay, well, we hope when you're ready, you will share the information with us here on both sides of the story. And was that Horace? We see Franklin McDonald usual, checking in, sending us a link to Treasure Beach, Jamaica. Many are asking about donations, and this is a story that has been, someone has taken a picture. Bishop Douglas couldn't take a picture or pictures of CNN broadcasting, and it shows a story of 4 people dead, 9 hospitalized after Georgia school shooting. No, that has flashed across the screens, and we've made a note of it to follow up condolences. As we continue with more, there's another another story that has been brought to our attention, and just one of those things. Let's see. This story published by the Gleaner. Lieutenant Stitchy needs help with medical expenses. We're sorry to hear that, but we trust he gets the help and support that he needs. Sorry to hear that. Also, Kevin Galloway says, glorious Jesus' name. Horace, otherwise known as Spider, says, Mr. Malcolm. Oh, I read that already. And in another message, he says, Mr. Malcolm, now is the time for Mr. Neville Carter, Omalu, Spider, myself, and others to form our charity and start being the difference we want to see in Jamaica, land we love. And in bold letters, the word seriously. Well, that's very bold of you all. We hope it's a successful venture. Neville, otherwise known as Salah, says, Dervan, I was stopped by the police on a Thursday morning coming from West Kingston Market. You mean Coronation Market? At the time, I had an 8 to 5 job, just job working with the government. My son, he was going to, let's just say school, we don't necessarily need the name. Going to school at the time, also, I was to be doing some juggling for making ends meet. The 8 to 5 job wasn't really cutting it, or wasn't really cutting it either. I did not have green plates on my car either. So the police decided that he was going to seize my car. It's time for the people to get together for this to stop. Salah from Kingston. Yeah, time is running out on us on this particular subject matter. We have to get around to it. Because we're hearing more people talking about it, and we're not sure where it began and have no idea where it will end. So we'd love to do a follow-up on that. In the meantime, we're still taking your calls and your messages. 876-922-4112 to 5. The text line 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. And still very much taking your calls. 876-922-4112 to 5. 876-922-4112 to 5. As we keep it going here on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. Feel free to call or text or WhatsApp or otherwise. Thank you. Hello to Natalie Winter. She says, hey, Dervan, watching from Washington Gardens, Kingston, Jamaica. Pleasant viewing. It's very wet outside. Well, we hope it's not too wet where you are as you continue to listen to both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. But we'd love to hear more about those experiences and encounters with the police with respect to the green plates. We'd love to, once and for all, bring it to some kind of finality. Otherwise, well, we hope it doesn't get way out of hand. All right, so somebody here, oh, it's Natalie, who wants to let me see what she's saying here. Oh, she wants to know if there's any further reports on the systems we've been hearing about, which are yet to be developed, but there are certain elements that are already in play that can give a general idea of what is possible or potential and what percentage of that. So the current disturbances, there's a tropical or subtropical cyclone. So those, I don't want to say too much because I'm not the forecaster. Map alone, you get an idea, some possibilities or probabilities. But the experts can go a step further or more than a step further based on the experience of these professionals. So let's bear that in mind as we think of what is possible. So over the northwestern Caribbean Sea, that would pique our interest. Northwestern Caribbean Sea and southwestern Gulf of Mexico. A tropical wave moving quickly westward at about 20 miles per hour, producing a broad area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms across portions of the central Caribbean Sea. Some development is possible early next week when the system moves over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. So that's a brief look just from the position of our eyes, what we're seeing, and the little we know about these matters. In the meantime, though, we're going to another break right here on both sides of the story, Poro 106 FM.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:45. Power 106 FM, the digital sound, and now reaching you in more ways. Listen to us on 106.1 to 106.9 on the FM band. You can also listen to us on the Power 106 FM app, which you can download on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can tune in on your mobile phones by dialing 631-359-8281 if you're in the US. And if you're in the UK, you can dial 0330-606-0953. Plus, listen to us on onespotmedia.com and the One Spot Media app, or log on to go-jamaica.com. Power 106 FM, where all views can contend, giving you powerful talk radio in so many ways, on air and online.
We need to job and respect. We get out while we can. We always need to hear both sides of the story. Both sides of the story. Neighborhood piece of shadow. It's the middle of the night. Young faces hide in the shadows while they watch their mother fall apart. He says she's been faithful. She says her love for him is gone. The brother shrugs to his sister and says, looks like it's just us both now on. Oh no, we need to hear both sides of the story. We need to hear both sides of the story.
So, one way or another, the state has to take action or try to bring matters under control. So, regulations are drafted. For example, as far back as 1939, regulations were drafted by the Sanitation Committee of the Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation to bring barbers, hairdressers, and beauticians of the corporate area under the control of the Public Health Department. So that wasn't always the case. That was a change. The regulations provide for barbers, hairdressers, and beauticians to be medically examined at regular intervals. The fee for their licenses at the time was to be 5 shillings per year. And this is another reason why the state has to take another look at certain penalties that are in place and whether they are adequate or otherwise. That's just an example there. As we continue with more on both sides of the story, Poro 106 FM. Another part of the history here, a popular area in Jamaica, in a popular parish. And it was on this day, 1940, that members of the St. Catherine Parochial Board, which is now the municipality, toured Passage Fort and Portmore. They looked at the proposed subdivision of 80 acres of the Portmore property, which was adjacent to what is now known as the Newlands Road, which was high ground away from the Rio Cobre. Long before Portmore came into being, though, the area was being looked at as a possible alternative home for the people living in the squalor of the adjacent village of Passage Fort. During particularly bad rainy episodes, the Rio Cobre would flood the village, causing property damage, public health concerns, and even death. In 1939, this was one of the issues of concern at the St. Catherine Land Settlement Committee meeting. Financing for the project proved difficult. In fact, in a 1941 parochial board meeting, the Central Housing Authority said the project would cost £5,000. They postponed the development because they thought it was too expensive at the time. And so the matter of resettling the people of Passage Fort came up from time to time, but nothing hopeful, until September 20, 1943, when the Central Housing Authority held a meeting and one of its many resolutions declared that lands at Hatfield in Savannah Lamar and Portmore in St. Catherine were to be housing areas. The following year, in 1944, the United Fruit Company, in anticipation of the project, transferred more than 300 acres of Portmore land to the Housing Authority. In 1949, the matter became a political one, with the Jamaica Labour Party naming Portmore as one of the places it had provided housing. Yet in June 1950, the people of Passage Fort claimed that they were still waiting to be removed to Portmore and claimed that the government's promise had not been fulfilled. Of course, Portmore eventually became a reality in 1969. And the rest, as they say, is history. As we continue with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, here on Power 106 FM. And here's a message. Not the Coronation Market, says, who is this now? Neville, otherwise known as Salah. Not the Coronation Market, Dervan. It was the shoes market. It's where they sold the wholesale things. If you bought 3 pairs and more, you got it at their wholesale prices. I see. Thank you very much for that clarification, Neville, otherwise known as Salah. And let's see who else is messaging us. Horace, otherwise known as Spider, still with us. He says, Mr. Malcolm, at the same time, we are wondering why Jamaica is lagging behind in production in the Caribbean. Mr. Malcolm, the tradesmen are fed up with this. It's too much to bear, way too much. JPS plus the government, but more so the government, says Horace, otherwise known as Spider. So we still have a few minutes before we go in terms of taking more of your calls and your messages. The number's to 5-876-922-411. And the text line is the same as the WhatsApp number, 365-3346. 876-365-3346. All right, so we'll give you the last few minutes, give you an opportunity to use the last few minutes of today's edition of Both Sides of the Story before we have to call it a day, as they say. So those numbers for the final time this afternoon, 876-922-4112-5. That's 876-922-4112-5. And the text line is the same as the WhatsApp number, 876 365 3346. 876 365 3346. We want to use the opportunity in the meantime to thank our listeners and viewers across the world. Thank you very much. Thanks as well, naturally, to the team, the technical and production teams in studio here at Power 106 FM. What's this? Oh, the established Baptist, Roman Catholic, Presbyterians, Anglican churches combined have landmass next to the government. These churches could give some of the lands to the poor, starting with their members. And this message is from Patrick. So before we close, I don't want to call it a last lick, but before we close, Patrick is suggesting on WhatsApp that the established churches, so those would be Baptist, Roman Catholic, Presbyterians, and Anglican churches, would combined have land mass next to the government. These churches could give some of the lands to the poor, starting with their members. From Patrick. And there's a rejoinder here. Someone else, is it the same person? Same person saying, Niger left the country in a poor state. I wonder who is coming next. So everybody wants a piece of the action. But it is what it is. It's in some respects, it's something to look at. Maybe not in this rambunctious way, but in a manner that speaks to a situation which is possible by virtue of the resources and the individuals involved. It might very well go that way, if not now, maybe sometime in the near future. But we'll just have to and see and trust that we're around for long enough to see it. Can we thank you once again for the privilege of serving you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story, for today, Wednesday, the 4th of September, 2024. All things being well, Both Sides of the Story returns tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 5. Till then, this is Dervan Malcolm reminding all of us that every day is an opportunity to do better than yesterday. Take care.
FM. The time is now
5 o'clock.
News, comprehensive, powerful, and credible. Power 106 FM now presents a simulcast of Radio Jamaica's News at 5.
Bye.
Good afternoon. I am Dervan. Coming up in the news segment of Beyond the Headlines.